let me go ahead and call this meeting to order. I appreciate everybody being here. Hopefully, we won't have to be masked up for a while, maybe for a few months, but hopefully it'll go downhill and we can take them off. Would you stand and join me in pledging allegiance to our flag? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council members, we need to approve the agenda. As you know, there are some changes that we need to make to the agenda. The first one, you want to read them off, Eric?
Yes, sir. The first one will be to table the Lloyd annexation petition. The second one will to be remove item 2 under new business, which is withdrawing the Lloyd zoning application. Then we have 2 items to add to the agenda. The first of which will be to add an inmate housing agreement with the Cherokee County Sheriff. And the final one will be a ratification for the city clerk's signature.
Hold on a second. I'll forget that. Write it down. Okay, with those changes put forth, could I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
Okay, motion by John, second?
Second.
By Lee, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so again, we're removing 2 items and we're adding 2 items. At this time, we don't have anybody that has signed, put on a request to appear, but I want to call on, got 2 people that have signed up that would like to address the council. And I'll start off with Dan Fricchetti. Let's come up here to the stand.
Hopefully you can hear me pretty good. I was here mainly about the Lloyd development, and it was my understanding that they removed their petition to rezone and that. And I just wanted to thank the Mayor Roberts and the committee if they had any influence on that. So I think certainly would have had a detrimental effect on our traffic flow, certainly.
Well,
in that area.
we all agree that was not a proper development to be considered, and you know, we did ask the developer to remove it, and
That'd
he
be
did.
great. Like I said, I just came really to thank everyone here.
Okay,
On
well,
behalf of myself and the other residents in St. Joe.
all right, well, appreciate that.
Thank you, guys and ladies.
Mary? It's Blue Shan, she's
Want to refile though, Mr. Lloyd?
possibly.
Oh, because we went to the meeting the other night, and that's what he said to us out in the hallway.
I mean, I can't say something off the record.
Oh,
But it needs to match what we want to have residential-wise in that area.
okay, very good. First of all, I want to thank you for changing for fixing our famous candidate signs from 14 days for the subdivisions to, well, actually to 60 days. And we appreciate that. But I would also like to know if there has been an amendment to that sign ordinance number 112 as you issued an executive order, which does the executive order change does it amend the ordinance? Your executive order, or does that have to be done? For this
For
current.
60 days, or for the 14, the shorter term allowed in subdivisions, that was an error.
Well, wasn't that all
Right,
in the one executive order?
Right,
It was on the executive order, but under Scrivener's rule, an error can be fixed by the mayor with executive order.
Okay,
If the body wants to consider a permanent 60-day allowance, that will need an amendment by full council.
right. And
Thank
But
you.
repairing the error is done.
it's-
Thank you.
All right.
Okay,
And the 60 days is something that I want us to, the council to discuss and determine if we want to leave that in place, which, you know, it may be, having political, you know, this is the first active political year we've
Exactly.
had in a long time.
Yeah.
And I really, it made me think that maybe the 30 days is too short. So we're going to discuss that.
Okay.
And we may end up amending the ordinance.
I'm sorry to bring this up, but there was just a lot of questions we had out there and a lot of misconceptions too. So, you know, and after reading your email, Eric, in response to the email I sent out, you stated that you chatted with Karen Weaver and John Bird about the platted subdivisions, and the only extensive conversations you recall in regards to that is the right-of-way sign placement on weekends was to create a safety net of sorts in our subdivisions where road right-of-way clearly exists, but almost always gives the appearance of being private property.
Right.
I've seen that right in my, being on the board of directors in our subdivision, we see that people say, don't walk on my grass. That's, you know, I go, it's actually the cities or the counties, but, you know.
Right.
You know, we all know that. But do you think somebody would actually put a sign in somebody's yard without
If it's
asking?
on public right-of-way, yes.
But not in a subdivision, not in somebody's private
But
home?
they could, if it was not spelled out in the ordinance
Okay,
that prohibited it,
okay,
then and like I said, we did change that to say any residential area where it's obvious the homeowner maintains all the way to the right-of-way. Because without that, and especially in the Old Canton Road corridor or Canton Highway corridor where there still are residential folks, like the gentleman with the peanuts that sets up actually outside the city but puts his signs on right-of-way, he could put it right in front of houses that are maintained. Just trying to make it look like the homeowner of that house has to be consulted, or you have to get permission. It doesn't ban it from being there, but it said they would have to come to you and get permission to put their sign on the back of the
Okay.
curb in front of your house.
Gotcha.
When you're maintaining that.
okay, and I appreciate that.
Yep.
But the weekend signs are allowed on the right-of-way in residential districts where the property owner maintains the right-of-way with permission of the homeowner, you wrote.
Right.
And then, so if the homeowner agrees to place a candidate sign next to the curb, that is okay then, right? Because that's that would be
We-
considered the right-of-way.
Yeah, we haven't done anything in those areas where it's on the back of the curb.
Okay. What about the signs that are left out all the time on the corners at stop signs in this city? Isn't that the right-of-way when it's right next to a stop sign?
Yes.
Okay. I personally do not think that anybody in the city should have to go take them down. I think you ought to add something to that ordinance that says, if they're left there, you're getting a letter and you're getting fined. You know, but there's just, people have no respect for what they're doing. We have candidates that took their signs down as soon as you sent that letter out. And we had a candidate that didn't take his signs down for weeks. You know that because I complained about it. The only signs in our neighborhood were his, and it wasn't fair to the other candidates that follow the rules. And I think that should be something added to your art, or thought about, talked about.
Well, that's something that Eric and I have spent a lot of discussion about, whether to pick them up or not. You know, there's a little bit of there's a learning curve here, I think, because this is the first big campaign that we've had to deal with political signs. And since we put that ordinance into effect, you know, we may, as a result of just seeing the complications and frustrations, we may end up amending the ordinance to lessen some of the restrictions that are in there, but it would apply to anybody putting a sign out.
Exactly.
So,
And not just, no, I know,
know,
not just political signs.
correct.
I understand that.
And that, because you can't differentiate signs. But can't your neighborhood through the HOA, you can actually put restrictions on
Oh, yeah.
in your
We
neighborhood,
can,
right?
we can.
Yeah.
But, you know, here is my dilemma, is, you know, like I said, on the board. We had 3 candidates at that time, when this started, that had signs up in our neighborhood. When 2 of them found out about it, they removed them immediately. So if I put and said to that third one, you've got to take them down, and he knows I'm for the other 2 people, he would have said it was, it would just been a mess. I really feel it would have been a mess. So I tried to do it where the city was responsible for it, because you are. You tell them they can't put them up, so you got to tell them to take them down.
Okay, well, I really appreciate your input.
Okay, thank you.
Because, again, it's something that we're struggling with a little bit, but my expectation, we'll probably start following the removal of the signs.
Okay.
Not from Monday to Thursday.
As an outsider, I would volunteer to be on that committee to help you out, guys, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to address the council on any matters? Okay. Well, we'll move on to the announcements from city manager.
Just a reminder that the Rivers Alive cleanup, even though it's not a river, take place on Ball Ground Creek, starting here behind City Hall and going to the area down behind the Waffle House, along Valley Street, the small stream there that's a tributary to Sharp Mountain and the Etowah River. So that'll be October 16th, from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. City of Ball Ground Christmas Parade, March of the Toys for Tots, December 3rd at 7 p.m., and we are in desperate need of volunteers. Anyone that would like to volunteer on the parade committee to help direct traffic, parade traffic, not road traffic, would be greatly appreciated. And Officer Gonzalez has had to go out on a call, so whenever he gets back, we'll cover wellness.
All right. Thank you. Council has received the minutes from our August meeting. Are there any changes or proposed corrections? If not, let me ask for a motion to approve the minutes that you have received for August the 12th. Okay, motion by Lee. Second by Andy. All in favor? Okay, so you need to get those to me to sign, Karen. We move to old business. As we said, we removed the annexation petition of John Lloyd. So we'll go to the second reading of the City of Ball Grounds Development Code. We covered that last meeting, the first reading, and it's just a detailed document that tells everything about everything you develop-wise, what needs to be done, what needs to be inspected, how to handle it. Any comment, Eric?
The only thing that we changed since the first presentation is we actually just took out a couple of pages we had on what required permits and what required licensing, and just copy and pasted and inserted the state code in that area, the state minimum building code in that area. So it's clear and word for word on the state code.
Well, that document is how many pages long?
77.
It's a lot of reading.
It's got roadway standards, curve data tables.
But it does, as he has up there, it specifies things that we want to have consistently in the city. And so I'm glad we're hopefully the council will vote yes for this. But council members, anything you want to say about the proposed development code? If not, I'll ask for a motion to accept the second reading of this particular ordinance that will be creating the code. Okay, motion by John. Second by Lee. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. I failed to mention that Mickey O'Malley he's out of the state and could not attend the meeting tonight. So then we have the empty seat of Frank Homiller. So our council it can't be any smaller than this. So, but we do have a quorum. But Mickey will be back next month. Let me move on to new business. First one is a resolution supporting a proclamation that I'll be making concerning Constitution Week. It's something we do almost every year, and it's just to encourage. Our Constitution is, at this point, Eric, it's 200 and what? How many years old? 260, 265?
Let me do that, man.
But it's just it's something that's being done across the country. Just creating Constitution Week, and that would be September the 17th through the 23rd. And it's a proclamation saying that, people need to commemorate the anniversary of the Constitution, and that we're going to recognize that and give a week of recognition and encourage all citizens to study the Constitution. Well, you know what? I need to do that. Last time I studied it was in the 7th grade in civics. So this is something, though, that we've been asked to put forth and to create Constitution Week. So I'll do the proclamation as mayor, but I ask the council to support the proclamation through a resolution. Approve a resolution. John, second? Lee, okay, all in favor? All right, so we'll put on the sign, enjoy Constitution Week during that time. The next item concerns a proposed parking, getting parking downtown, and this is the lot. It's a lot next to the brewery that has been full of marble pieces. Our downtown used to be full of that, but that's the only remaining pile of marble there on the main street. So, Eric, you want to provide the details of what's being proposed?
Yes, sir. What we're asking is authorization for staff to work with legal counsel to draft a lease that meets the terms of both parties, and then to enter that lease. What the lease provides is that the city of Ball Ground would go in and remove the rest of the marble in that location. We would remove the chain link fence between Hardwired Brewery and Easy Ride Golf and replace that with a black iron fence similar to the parking lot up above it. We'd install concrete curbing around the perimeter and backfill with compacted GAB and make a suitable parking surface. Remove the trees that are in the back of the area there, clean up. The estimated cost of that for us right now is $34,000, which would need to come out of reserve fund. This is not a budgeted item. Following that, the city would have 4 years of no-cost lease in exchange for having done the capital improvement. On the 5th year, the final 12 months of the lease, the city would pay $700 a month for the lease. The lease ends at 5 years, at which time we would hope that somebody like Hardwired Brewery or Dominic's or somebody like that would take over the lease, just not in a position to pay to haul off all the marble and make the capital investment to make it a suitable parking area.
Well, that part of downtown really needs additional parking. There's a lot of visitors that come in there, and we were if we couldn't get this worked out to remove the marble and put in the parking lot, then we would have to approach the owners about putting in a screening fence so that you can't see all that stuff, because technically it has to be covered in some sort of fencing. But at this point, I think we made it to something that we agree on, but the council has to approve that. And any comment from the council? Otherwise, ask for a motion to authorize Eric to work with the attorney and move forward on this particular rental agreement, in which we will pay to clean up the property, but then we won't pay any rent for 4 years. Then we'll pay rent for the 5th year. Okay, motion by Andy, second by Lee.
Where
Any-
will we put the stuff we removed?
In a hole.
Fill it? Pardon me? You got any
We
holes
have
to
a
fill it?
hole. It'd just be taken and dumped in the hole that we have to fill.
The marble in that location it's just like trashy little pieces that really can't be used for anything.
And I need to say too, I went with their first name. It's Rock Solid Brewery, not Hardwired. That was initially, and
Yes.
that name was taken, but I'm sorry, it's Rock Solid. But no, we just haul it and landfill it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Say it again?
And just for the record, they are having a sale again this weekend. Trying to sell more of it so there'll be less to haul off, but.
Okay, all in favor of the motion? Okay, that's unanimous, thank you. Next item on the agenda is to declare a 2014 police car as surplus, a car that we've had lots of problems with, and to get rid of it, we have to declare it surplus. And that would be put on
Be put on the GovDeals auction site. The replacement vehicle for this vehicle is due in mid-October. However, this one has just gone down. The estimated repair costs are over $3,000. So we've just got this short time, we're using a spare and sell this one instead of putting the money into it.
Okay, motion by Lee, second by John. All in favor? Aye. All right, so we have declared that 2014 Dodge Charger as surplus. Last item of new business, adopt a resolution authorize, well, we have two new additional things to add. But right now, adopt a resolution authorizing the advertisement of sale of property related to refinancing City Hall. And this is kind of a complicated thing, so I'm going to turn over to Eric, of course.
It's difficult for cities within the confines of the law to just borrow money. We really can't just borrow money. We typically have to lease things and make appropriations every year for those funds. For the last couple months, we've been talking about building the new police station, which was the final building of this complex. In order to do that and to pull the proceeds out of the existing lease to fund that construction, we need to advertise as surplus the city hall and the city property in its current lease, the brick and mortar lease program through Georgia Municipal. Georgia Municipal Association will bid. The bid has been written by bond and legal counsel in such a way that if somebody buys it, they have to lease it back to the city for this price and give us X amount of cash and do the walkaway lease and everything else. So GMA will be the only one that's going to bid that document. Once they bid and set up the closing, they will refund the cash out of the lease proceeds, which will enable us to then move forward with the construction of the police department building.
I mean, so technically, someone could come along and say, we'll do all this stuff instead of GMA, but it's specified exactly what has to be done.
Correct.
So, but the first step to move forward on that is to declare the surplus of City Hall.
And authorize the advertising in the legal organ, and it's ready to go. It can run next week, and we'd be looking at a closing bid opening, I think, of October 1st.
Okay, council, any questions for Eric on this proposal? You know, when you look at the big picture, when we built City Hall originally, it was designed with 3 buildings. And at that time, the pricing was such that we only chose to do 2. But the third, the plans are already in place, and you know, I may have to go steal it from our architect to bring the 3D display of how things look, but it will go on the other side of the tower, and that will be for the police department. I think it's gonna make things look nicer too here at City Hall, because it balances it. Yeah,
How many square feet is the police department gonna be? How many square feet is the police department gonna be?
It's gonna be about 2,400, about the same size as this building.
And we'll be bringing in some parking on the backside that we need. Okay, can I have a motion to approve adopt the resolution for the advertisement sale of the property? Okay, John? Motion by John, is there a second? Second. All right, second by Lee. Any further discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor of the motion? Okay, that's unanimous, thank you. And you think we'll be moving forward on this by October?
No, sir. We'll get closed by the end of October, more than likely with financing. Then at that point, we'll issue the notice to proceed with our contractor. Again, we aren't going out to bid on this. We are building this through the State of Georgia Services contract. So they have contractors that have already bid by line item on everything they'll build in the state. And so we went through Georgia Department of Administrative Services, and they got us a quote on the building, and that's what we'll be moving forward with.
But as far as the bidding for, on the building here, will be done by October 31st?
That part has been done. So we'll be done with financing by October 31st, at which point, when we have the cash in hand, we can issue
Start
the
the
notice
building.
to proceed to the state to get the project moving.
Okay. All right, well, we've agreed on that, so exciting to move forward, because again, I think it's gonna be a big, our police department, when we built this building, we had 2 people, and they need more space. And as we grow the department, which is the intent, definitely need more space. So I'm excited to move forward on it. Okay, the 2 additional items, we'll put forth one of them right now. Eric.
Inmate housing agreement.
A housing agreement.
This is an agreement we've had in place with the sheriff for housing municipal inmates. That has been being done at a cost of $35 per day for room and board, with the city still handling medical and transportation expenses. We have received a new agreement from the sheriff raising the daily rate 64% from $35 to $55 daily.
Well, this is true, every city.
Every city in
Waleska,
Cherokee County.
except Waleska,
True.
has to do this, so it's not, we're not being doing any different than other cities. What? Move forward on the motion?
I think that's fine, subject to review by legal counsel. I think that I am aware of some scuttlebutt between the other cities, Canton, Woodstock, and Holly Springs. And I want to make sure that Ball Ground gets the same deal from the sheriff as the other cities.
Yeah, that came out this afternoon, and they've withdrawn the, first day free.
So as long as we're getting the same deal that everybody else is getting from the sheriff's department, I don't have any problem with it.
It's the same agreement.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to approve this resolution for inmate housing with the sheriff's department, and let that be subject to the review by legal counsel. We don't have a choice.
I guess, so if somebody goes to jail for 20 years, we're gonna pay?
No, sir, those, our court can't, send anybody to jail for more than 30 days. So this would not apply when our PD arrests somebody on state charges that goes to state court. We do not pay for that. But if our judge was to decide to put somebody in jail for 15 days for violation of the sign ordinance, I don't think it will, but if he did, we would have to pay this daily rate.
And just as for info, anybody that we pick up and take to jail that's injured or sick or have to do the hospital, that's on our bill. It's amazing, just a few times we've had to do that, how much it costs. So that the inmate housing is minimal. It's nothing like the medical expenses. But can I have a motion? Can I go ahead and get a vote on this? All in favor of the motion? Didn't we already make the motion? Okay. All right, John? Okay, motion made, seconded. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. And Karen, the fourth item, the other item that we needed to add to the agenda? All right, to ratify you signing the agreement for the land swap on behalf of the city.
Council had approved this previously, but they wanted it reworded to specifically have Karen's name as the closer instead of just the city.
Okay, we've already approved the swap, so could I have a motion to authorize Karen to sign the document for the swap? Okay, Andy, motion, second? By John? All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. So I think that completes our new business tonight. So we'll move on to Eric's monthly report.
Okay, everyone should have a copy of the financials. We closed the month, general fund with $542,000 cash on hand. Special local option sales tax, $135,900. Utilities at $956,000 for a total of $1.6 million. And remaining ARPA funds is at $279,000. And general fund has been reimbursed for the ARPA expenses that it already incurred. For August revenue and expenditures, again, you have a detailed breakdown in there. General fund revenue at $36,000 for $64,000 expenses. Splost was up nicely this month at $59,000, $116,000 year to date. Utilities, our revenue was $157,000. Total expenses for the month, $252,000 against expenses of $243,000. We've been waiting about 3 years, I guess, to say this, but our qualified local government status has been restored. All cities and the county have signed the most recent service delivery agreement. Not much different than the one that we first signed 3 years ago. So we are back in good graces and can start submitting grant applications and water sewer permit items and things like that again. Our annual audit will begin next week. It's going to be done mostly by remote. Again, this is pretty labor intensive on Donna and her folks. We're going to be doing some additional after hours work, having folks come in and assist with scanning and whatnot, but a lot of documents to scan back and forth when you're doing remote audits. Census numbers are out. Ball grounds population 2,560. It's an average growth of 112 people annually.
Can I say something?
Yes.
A few weeks ago, one of the Tribune reporters reported that Holly Springs had grown by 76%, which was the most of any city in the county, but made a note that smaller cities had not had the population released, which wasn't true. Our growth was 78%. So I'm gonna get on him to put that in the paper, that we actually grew more percent-wise. You know, of course, our numbers are, actual numbers are a lot smaller, but it was exciting to have a good growth. Sorry, comment.
On capital projects, on police building and staffing, last month we accepted the region's proposal at 2.6%. As of yesterday, we were down to 2.4%, which is nice substantial savings in borrowing that much. As soon as we open bids, we can get the interest rate locked in. So hopefully we can lock in an interest rate at 2.4 or even lower. Again, the cost of the building is about $689,000. We have the potential at the end to add for the ad alternate of $87,000 for total backup power generation for all three buildings. And again, we should have, by the end of October, this resolved with Regions. Community Center, we've received a rough floor plan. It's been received from the architect. We're going over that now and spending some time out there just seeing how functional that is going to be, and get with them and make any adjustments before they start building planning. On the Groover Street drainage project, it should wrap up tomorrow. Sod is to be delivered tomorrow morning about 6 o'clock, and hopefully we can get that sodded and cleaned up. But wanted to run through this right quick. You know, we had difficulties. The picture on the left is all the water lines and gas lines and whatnot in close proximity. On the right hand, we had to abandon digging. We could not get through there. We brought a company in out of Florida, and on the right hand side, that's a manhole, and that's a rack it's holding, looks like a big wet sock. That sock goes down the manhole, turns and goes under the road. And that's the balloon coming out the other side. Once that sock is in there, and this was done at night, the actual installation of the sock to prevent heat from the sun. But the steam generator on the right went in, and the guy crawls through that hole and he steams that whole sock. And we're having to do bypass pumping while that was going on, and had to bypass for 3 days to keep water off of it. You can see the finished product on the right, and this is a piece of it here, but this is what that pipe under the road is now that couldn't be dug with a 100-year guarantee. And pretty hard stuff, but it was a phenomenal process. And ended up, because we couldn't dig and did this, we ended up almost $12,000 over budget on the project. But we were losing water lines and didn't have an option.
Well, it looks nice now with sidewalk and.
Right, like I say, they'll be backfilling with sod tomorrow, about 3 rows of sod, then it'll go to seed and hay, and area should look much better tomorrow evening. GIS inspection records. One of the things, and we'll go over this next council meeting, We'll do a segment on our GIS mapping next council meeting. But we have now completed the location of every storm structure in the city. And we can go on our mapping now and actually pull up each storm structure and look at the pictures of it that were taken during that process. And every 5 years, we're on a plan now to inspect every storm structure every 5 years and be able to tell what the conditions were before, if we have changing flow conditions, whatnot in it. So this is just a picture of one of them. And this one's actually in the Lantern Walk subdivision. But like I said, we'll continue that every 5 years. We'll do about 40, 50 structures a year to maintain that. We have a request out to Georgia DOT. This is standing at Northridge Road near the well house, looking east on 372 towards Cherokee Village. And we've submitted a request for a joint project here to pipe that ditch line all the way up to the top of the hill. Offered for the city to purchase the piping with Georgia DOT to do the installation, which would let us come back then, curb, gutter, and put 5 or 6 foot sidewalk on that side of the roadway, getting to the top of the hill. The other side of the road where the sidewalk currently exists, to rebuild that sidewalk needs retaining walls, new curbing, a lot of easements, and the grade changes through there are very, very difficult. On this side, we actually have best chance of getting as close to ADA compliant as we can get. The grade of the hill will challenge that, but that'll be the only challenge.
What length of sidewalk?
By the time we get it to Cherokee Village, we're looking at a little over 1,800 feet. The guardrail project really has no movement. On the paving projects, we have issued notice to proceed on Groover Street and Summit Circle. That paving should take place by the end of October, but the contractor did say he hoped to move in within the next 2.5 to 3 weeks. On the local maintenance grant, we submitted that as soon as we got our QLG status approved. We have been granted $32,485 from Georgia DOT, and that'll be applied towards the depot paving project. We should receive those funds within the next 10 to 15 days. Gearing back up on doing our own internal patching, again, this has become very problematic to get contractors to do this. Our crew is getting better with each patch they do. So we have a lot of that going on. This is the one that was there at the end of Mound Street, where all the broken concrete was. And our guys are doing a real good job with these. Civic Drive intersection, that's next to Jill's Bakery, headed in Civic towards the Masonic Lodge. We've issued the notice to proceed there to take out those high curbs. As vehicles try to come out there, it's very difficult for one to exit and one to enter at the same time. We'll be expanding the turn radius there by a total of 11 feet, about 5.5 feet on each side, making it really good for 2 vehicles to get in and out of there. Total cost on that's just $13,650 and should take place within the next 2 weeks. Concrete is very difficult to come by right now. So as we're doing jobs, they're telling us when they can bring us concrete, and we're hoping it lines up with weather. You know, everything with the state is a study, but we have requested them to do a study of relocating the 4-way stop. We've been disapproved for a second 4-way stop downtown. They said we can only have the one that we have on Old Canton Road. So we've asked them to actually evaluate moving that one down to Old Dawsonville and Valley. The traffic counts at Old Dawsonville and Valley are about 3 times or so the Old Canton Road traffic count. Also, good number on the north end on Old Canton. Over half of the traffic is cut-through traffic, people just trying to avoid the traffic light at Business 5. So if they did move it down, we'd accomplish two things. It would improve the traffic flow at the lower end. It would also resolve our issue with the number of tractor trailers and dump trucks that we have drop their drive shafts trying to take off on the grade at the existing four-way stop, which causes all kinds of traffic issues on Friday afternoon. Pedestrian project at Lantern Walk has moved from the District 6 office to the Atlanta office. The Atlanta office had no record of the safe routes to school that had originally planned that intersection, so we sent them all that data yesterday, and hopefully that'll get moving. Business activities, we've closed the deal with Cherokee Water Authority for an additional 60,000 gallons a day water. Our peak day demand right now on our purchase water is at 62,000. We have a total of 123,000, and we have in the budget in January to go for another 60,000 gallons a day. PFAS testing, we got our results last week, and there are no detectable levels in ball ground water of all these new chemicals that they're testing for. Everything that we have in landfills right now and whatnot seeping into the groundwater, we're blessed that none of it is hitting us. But we are getting hit with the new lead and copper rules going into effect in 2024. It's going to drastically change how we're handling things at the city level for testing. Prior to now, there's been a maximum contaminant level for lead at 15 parts per billion. EPA is reducing that to 10 parts per billion. Also, we had a category of housing that we tested before. Houses built during a certain time period when they were still using lead in the solder and whatnot in the copper pipes. And so Cherokee Village fit that bill the most for us. It's where we did the bulk of our testing. We're still going to be well under. The highest house in ball ground tested at a 2.9 parts per billion for lead. So still well under the 10, but 13 of the 20 homes we tested this year had 0 detectable levels of lead. The changes now is we are going to have to do any elementary school in the city, so we'll be doing that. Any daycare center will need to be tested. And this becomes more and more difficult because you have to collect them all on the same day. And all of them have to be the first drawn water of the morning. And there has to have been a minimum of 8 hours of no water use prior to collecting the test. And when we miss a sample, you start all over and next morning try to get. So it's complicated, and the more people you add to it, the more complicated it gets. But we will figure it out. We're also being required to do an inventory assessment of all of our lines. Any place in the city that had a lead line, and we have records of where we removed some old lead lines 18, 20 years ago. But now any galvanized line that was downstream of a lead line is now considered a lead line because corrosion on the inside of galvanized can absorb lead. So we're going back through trying to see where our galvanized is, where lead was removed, and see if we have any galvanized lines that fit that bill. The Howell Bridge lift station, the drawdown tests are complete. Meters have been calibrated, the head tests have been done. So we've moved now to Sage Hill and are evaluating the Sage Hill station. And we'll probably start pumping Howell Bridge to Sage Hill and repumping from there. That's how the Sage Hill station was designed. So we'll have a little bit of work to do in that area, but to increase capacity there. Old Mill Lift Station is finally back in service. That pump failure, that pump cost $20,000. So remind everybody, when our water sewer balances look good, water sewer is expensive. One little pump's $20,000, and then you're paying somebody to pull it and put it back in. Found out when they pulled that pump, sent it to the shop, it was actually wired wrong. They said it never should have pumped, but it pumped for 12 years. So, it was set up at 480 and the station's only a 240 station, so. Licensing, we've had two of our employees who completed their Class 3 water operator training last month. We're now setting up for them to work at the water treatment plant with Cherokee County. Reason being is the state exam for licensing is based solely on surface water. Our guys never see surface water. We operate with a well. So they get all kinds of questions about reservoirs and cleaning filters and pulling water out of the river, and they don't do that. So we're gonna send them down there to work for a while. When they complete that, they'll be going to Carrollton, West Georgia College, attending a 2-week class there. And at the end of that, we'll set them for their state exams. Parks and Recreation, council had approved the pickleball expenditure. Notice to proceed has been issued, tentatively scheduled for the second week of October to convert one of the tennis courts to a pickleball court at a cost of $10,500. City has just purchased the rec desk software. Once that's implemented by March 1st, all of our lease agreements, everything else should be able to be done online. Somebody needs to use the pavilion in the park or the ball fields or basketball courts and want to reserve them, they can go online, reserve them, pay the fee to do it, pay it online, and be able to have that service. We're working on getting pricing for this now for Valley Street, where we can start some fundraising. But this is the image of a Veterans Memorial, one that we found down in Alabama that already has a existing set of plans on it. So we'll be getting some pricing on that and then trying to do some fundraising to come up with the ability to have a Veterans Memorial and Ball Ground. Looking right now on Valley Street and the linear park.
Near Coy Hawcom, kind of across from the fire station.
We're grant writing right now for the pedestrian bridge over Long Swamp Creek to connect our two 25-acre parcels. We run into some challenges on this bridge. It fits within the scope of the grant, but with the weight of it, we haven't found any military units yet that have agreed to sling load the bridge in there for us. It's in a location where you can't get equipment to it, so we'd need a helicopter transport to set it. So Bridge Brothers has gone back and is looking at more of a suspension bridge design that can be built. On public safety, 630 calls for service, 361 zone patrols, 110 traffic stops, 50 citations, and 15 accidents worked for the month. Next one is just a follow-up. Chief reminded me I need to hit this. I showed this a couple of months ago, but did want to point out that when that was recovered, it was a 911 call. It was the response for a possible burglary. It was just kids playing. There was no burglary. There was no crime. There wasn't anything. The kids were just playing and running around in and out of a store. Bystanders saw that weapon and rightfully called 911, but they were just playing. Citizen requests and complaints. We have requested assistance from the Georgia State Patrol for running radar on Old Dawsonville Road. That is not a city street that we are licensed at this time to run radar on. So we have asked for the Georgia State Patrol to come in and assist with that. Solid Waste Services, glad to report our complaints, while we still get them, are way down from what they were several weeks ago. That service continues to improve as their workforce gets healthier. Trees and the street lights, I talked with Zach again today at Zach's Tree Service, and he now says they'll be able to do better than that 6 to 8 weeks. That's gonna be in Lantern Walk, in the preserve at Long Swamp Creek, areas where trees are getting up into the lights, but also getting out over the road edges. ATVs, still being an issue. PD's got them tracked down. Lee, you saw them last night for the first time, didn't you?
He come blasting through about midnight, yeah.
That's really, at this point, if you don't mind, I'll switch gears and, go back under the other announcements, and if I could get Officer Gonzalez to come up here for a minute. The city has a wellness program. We look for any way we can to try and save funds and reduce our costs. So we started a wellness program a year ago. These reach certain levels, we save on our health insurance premiums. So if we can get our employees up to silver, we save 7% on the premium. And as everybody knows, health insurance costs have gone way up. Officer Gonzalez, he's never content with anything just mediocre, so he went from silver to gold for more savings. And then he's gone from silver, and he's our first employee to reach platinum. And as a result, he saved the city $1,680. So Mayor Roberts has authorized the city to split that with you.
And Stuart, let me say that I'm very jealous. I'm in the same program, and that's how, Vicki, that's why I do all that walking. But I can't catch
It
up
don't
with
look
him.
like, but yes, I do exercise.
Yes.
Don't want the first of next year.
Well, I'm gonna get there, but. Yes. But really, that's, Stuart, that's a great thing. I really wish all our employees on the insurance program would follow all your footsteps, because it does lower the premium of the insurance, and it also makes you healthier, or it's supposed to, unless you develop sciatica or something because you walk too much. But we appreciate you. Anything else you want to cover?
Did you want to go over any of the mission communications? Or you want to wait till next month?
Yeah, let's do, I'd really like the council to see this mission software we have. It's amazing how much information it provides about the city. I don't believe there's a city this small that has this kind of information. But I really would like to have a demonstration, maybe even at the next council meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
we can do that.
All right. But I got a little bit informed about it the other day and was amazed at, again, how much information we have about everything underground and on the ground, and it's like, I'm sure other cities around us don't have it, small cities. But we'll spend some time on that at next meeting. Okay. Hey, I'm gonna take my mask off so you can hear me. I wanted to talk briefly about COVID, and of course we've got a requirement for masks here, and we're starting to put out signs around town encouraging distance separation and for people not vaccinated. But there's a measure that we monitor every day from the Department of Health, and that is I mentioned it before, but it's a calculation of the number of cases in the county in the last 2 weeks per 100,000 people. That's how it's calculated, and they do that for every county in the state. Cherokee isn't in the worst. We've increased greatly. Today, that number, which again is the number of cases per 100,000 people in the last 2 weeks, we're up to 842. Pickens County is 734. so they're a little lower, but still, both of those are very high numbers. There's some counties in the state that are up to 1,800 or 2,000. It's so bad, and that's mainly more rural areas. But when I look back over history, the highest Cherokee County hit was in January on the 12th, and it was 1,026. So we haven't hit that point. And based on what I'm seeing in the number of daily cases, I hope we've hit our peak, that we're going to start falling. But we have monitored that number and kind of using CDC guidelines. Once you get down to 100, then we'll open up, remove the mask requirement and stop taking down signs, because they consider that to be not much risk. But just want to let people know that we actually are monitoring it, and we don't have a mask mandate in the city, but we do for City Hall, because we can do that. If the city put forth a mask mandate, it would be ridiculous, because we're surrounded by a county that doesn't have it. So unless everybody's in the same boat, we can't do it. But I think putting out signs and encouraging people to stay distance and to encourage vaccinations is the way that we are going to move forward. I want to mention the upcoming election. I've been around for a lot of years, and we've never had this many candidates running. And it kind of makes me excited that we've got more people interested in our government and our city. But I think it's going to be it's going to be a whole different experience. How many candidates we have here tonight? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Well, glad you're at the council meeting, and because that's part of the learning curve. And but I wish we could say everybody could win, but I'm saying I'm excited to have so many people interested in being involved. So, and I want to say that I'm officially I'm flattered that I'm able to stay on board without anybody running against me. You may change your mind later, but anyway, this is again, to me it's a very exciting time to have so many people interested in being involved. So good luck to everybody. But this is, I guarantee though, this will be my final term. I've said it about a dozen times, but I mean it this time. But I do appreciate being back on board for 4 more years. We go around. Andy, do you have anything you want to add tonight? Well, I can't imagine being involved here without you here. Oh, I will hear from you, I know. Lee, you want to brag on something?
Well, I always brag on the police department, but you can see why I do, because every month we've got something special going on. We're doing a great job, and the police department is doing great, so thank you very much, guys.
Agree. John?
Oh, I would second what you said. I appreciate everybody that's running. I appreciate that you feel strongly enough that you feel like you're going to step up and do something. Because we've got plenty of people on social media and walking around that'll backbite all day long and just try to get people stirred up and leave it alone. I appreciate everybody that wants to step up and get involved.
Well, you mentioned social media. I look at it, I don't respond. To me, it become a political nightmare, and I just rather deal with people one-on-one than broadcasting it to. I mean, you've got so many people that respond, and they think they live in ball ground. They don't. They may live 5 or 6 miles away, but I want to say, you're not a resident. Don't comment. But I don't do that. But I do look at it. But I'm saying social media has become a real political nightmare everywhere. So, but again, it's part of what it is?
What I've seen on like I Love or I Heart Fall Ground.
Right,
I've seen more about what this gentleman was here for today, about the building or the, the land out here.
right.
Building those 200-something homes, than anything about the politics. I mean, people will put their ads, or their, I say ads, but, vote for me or whatever, but I don't see really cool things being said about the politicians. But I do about this land deal. And I think you all need to have an open forum with the city, with the residents of this city, to hear what they feel about all this growth.
Well, I'm fine for that for the residents. I do not, in the past, we've had gatherings that the most outrageous screaming going on for people that didn't live in the city. But, I kind of say, no, you're not allowed, but we technically can't do that. Legally, we can't, but can't restrict people from, but, a lot of people don't understand, we have a very high-quality master plan that we follow, and it's primarily the core city, and so when you start to get on outside that core, then we have, we want to analyze, the density technically generally should fall. It should get less dense as you move out of the core city. So anybody that comes forth and puts forth a high density that's on the edge of our, our whole future plan, it has to be talked about and probably redone. Not, a lot of developers just want to put all they can to make more money, but they've got to meet our guidelines too. So we're working on that. But it's, we had a lot of feedback about that particular project on the south side, but right now it's being redone. Well, anybody else?
We have an executive session.
Right? Darryl, you want to say anything?
All good here. That's good for the city.
Okay, well, could I, we'll have to, what we'll do in the executive session, we will have to adjourn our current meeting and then start the executive session, but it has to be with just the people here on the council. So I hate to say leave, but I do appreciate everybody being here.
And for the record, there is nothing in the executive session that will be actioned when we come back in. It's an informational, legal issue only.
Okay, can I get a motion?